Battle of the Coalition is about to begin. Hey, how's it going? My name is Jackie Fish and welcome back to some more Napoleonic Total War 3. Today we are back with an epic 4 vs 4. I've been doing a lot of 2v2s recently, so I thought, hey, let's go ahead and spice things up and just have an insane 4 vs 4 battle as the French army goes against the coalition of British, Prussian and 2 Russian forces. It should be really exciting. I saw some pretty good things on their Discord about this battle, so I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how this one does pan out. Now, we have been on this map before, but I don't think we've been on this map in this design. There are capture points instead of kind of defensive zones, whereas last time the one team could spawn on all of these defensive positions. This time it's a lot more open and we actually have these capture points. So there's a 4 and a 4 on either side of deployment zones, and then we have a scattered 3 points, you know, around on all these different positions. We have one right about here. I believe there'll be a building somewhere that they need to take, and then there's also one up on this hill, obviously securing this building, which the Russians from the coalition look like they've actually already got a vanguard unit going to do. And then finally we have another outer position right here, and I think this will lead to some pretty interesting maneuvers, because something one side could do, for example, is secure their capture point, and instead of kind of fighting in the center, just simply go down to cut off the enemy capture point right here, and then have, you know, what, 9 points? Yeah, it's gonna be very hard for the French to take that back. So there's just some interesting stuff right there that could happen. Taking a look at the army setup by all 4 players as we go on slow-mo, because there's a little bit of cavalry moving a bit far forward, and I don't want to miss any of the action right there. Quickly taking a look at the setups, we have, I think, 2 French corps moving their way along the road. Obviously, going along the road makes you a lot faster, and I assume these 2 French corps are going to go directly for this house and basically set up a position to secure that capture point, and then maybe push up over across the road with the support of their cavalry. And then I believe we also have actually, I think that's maybe 3, yeah, that's 3 French corps along here. They also just have 1 French corps moving its way on the right flank, so it does look like they heavily want to go for that capture point on the left hand side, and obviously to go alongside that they also have some detachments of horsemen. I think they've got hussars out here, as well as a couple dragoon divisions, or regiments I should say, not divisions, regiments. We also have, I think this is like dismounted horse infantry, like dismounted cavalry. I'm not too sure though, because these are chasseurs, which are horsemen, so like, why have these guys been denoted to foot? And that's also something I wanted to talk about quickly before we do start this battle, is when I ask you guys, like when I say something, if I'm wrong in saying it, like, oh, is that unit not actually a dismounted, you know, horse unit, do let me know in the comments down below, as I know a lot of like really, you know, veteran players of this mod are going to be watching this video, and you know, the best way for me to get better at this mod is by you guys telling me if I'm right or wrong, and what is the actual correct thing in these videos. And I would love that for the when I'm talking about grand strategy as well. So not only when I'm talking about units, but also grand strategy. It'd be really awesome if you guys, if I'm like, oh, why doesn't this unit do this? And then you guys go, well, actually, the reason that player didn't decide to do that was because the other person had cannons, or it would have taken him too long, or he didn't want to kind of, he had low morale on them units. Something along that lines would be amazing for just me making these replays better, because then I'll understand the mod a lot more. So feel free, you know, almost just to, you know, critique the like what I'm saying, because, you know, I've done what, 4 of these replays, so I'm not exactly gonna be the most veteran of players, and I haven't really played this mod before, so yeah. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into this battle, as it is starting to kick off with a pretty big bombshell. We do have the French moving forward their cavalry, and the Prussians are counter-attacking. The French cavalry vote is pouring in. We've got 5 whole units of horses right there. A lot of French regiments of horse going in. The British are going to come in and try and scare them off. However, even after this little engagement right there, this is a very interesting exchange, as we do have a unit of these British lancers being taken, or Russian lancers being taken out by the hussars right there, charging them down.
Our men are running, sir.
And I don't know, the French look like they're kind of coming out on top of this cavalry engagement. They managed to countercharge there, taking out a French cavalry unit. But the French, seemingly, even though they're the ones to be really aggressive, have actually pushed up the advantage right now, killing quite a lot of the Prussian cavalry. The British have maybe gone even, and the Russian lancers have lost a couple, but nothing too crazy. So actually, let's quickly go on slow-mo, because I did miss a bit of the design as these forces did form up. So yeah, we do have one of the French corps diving left, trying to, I guess, secure this house. They've got a few of these light infantry regiments being pushed up, more skirmisher stuff, and they're going to be duking it out. There's a few, I think there's one Russian light infantry unit in this building, kind of holding it for as long as possible. However, the French corps are now dipping and kind of going to be forming up into into fighting column very, very quickly. In the center, on the coalition side, as they come into view, we do have a couple Russian regiments supported by some British regiments as well, and I think the Prussians are coming in reserve. However, it looks like they're turning, so maybe they're going to try and hook around and push in. I mean, the French are going extremely heavy for this hill. They've got, what, almost 3 corps here? I think by the looks of it, they've got 3 corps and then a corps on the right flank, just stopping anything from coming in, because, again, we don't know what's out here. We do have a unit of, oh, I hate it when it does this, we do have a unit of French cavalry out here scouting the woods, which is a really smart move by the French players. But I think they're going to be getting overwhelmed, if they come up against any large amount of cavalry. We have some cannon being brought up here by the Russians. This is a really good position on this hill, basically just to overlook this entire position. And it's going to be covered by some Prussian cavalry. Got some Russian light infantry here. Oh, this is a really nice move right here. I never thought of this before, but sticking artillery on the road is just a solid way of locking it down. Because, obviously, units move faster on the roads, but if you have artillery stuck on the road, then the enemy can't really run down it due to canister shot and being broken that way. So setting up this artillery here is going to lock down this entire path, and as long as it's protected by cavalry, that's not a bad idea whatsoever. We do, however, have some cavalry and infantry being brought up here. A couple line regiments are going to form up. I'm not sure if they're going to try and break this Russian unit here, or if they're going to just try and shoot it a little bit, weaken it down that way. As these, what looks like Marines? Yeah, these guys kind of look like Russian Marines right here. They're picking off a couple shots off onto the French line. But, I mean, the French are not really going to worry too much. There's not enough kind of rifle muskets here to really cause too much of an issue. They have a couple regiments here. Basically, just kind of peppering it in. I assume, covering fire for when more infantry looks to take it. They're probably just waiting for, a grenadier unit to get up here before anything else, really. Because I imagine a grenadier, these grenadiers right here, will probably just storm this building and take it out extremely quickly with the support of, maybe a bit of musket fire. A lot of British cavalry being formed up here on the right-hand side. It's nice to be able to actually pronounce some names as well, because this is, I think, the first replay I've done with the British. So it's nice to be able to actually see their names and being like, oh yeah, I know how to pronounce that, because I'm an absolute gremlin. So the Russians are looking to go ahead and supply their infantry in that house with a couple of light infantry. Looks like as well they've got a unit of grenadiers as well as another line infantry. Oh no, these both look like grenadiers. I'm pretty sure that's grenadier in Russian, so they're going to look to reinforce. The British are also turning up as well with the 71st Light Foot as well as the 51st Light Foot. And they're going to be supported alongside some of the I think that's some King's German Legion. Yes, indeed. But no, the French are going to be meeting them up. Oh, this is awesome. They actually have some Egyptian-esque troops. That's really, really awesome, and I think that stands for mercenaries. So we've got some mercenary units, along with some camels back there as well. That's awesome that the French regiment, French corps brought that. And these guys are going to be volleying off their first couple shots against the British. The British are simply going to be moving close up into the face with their von Brauering, King of second. Oh, that's a beautiful volley right there. Yeah, the King's German Legion, 2nd Light Foot. I guess this is like a special commander unit or something, maybe giving bonuses. They're going to be volleying out, and I imagine, yeah, you can already see the mercenary, I guess, Egyptian-esque troops are just getting demolished, especially now the British have done a great job of hammering them with artillery and also bringing around some 33rd Foot along with the 23rd Foot, the Royal Guard right here. Oh, Royal Goat, sorry. These are the goats, greatest of all time right there. And they're going to be able to break this mercenary position quite nicely. However, the French artillery on the road, this is going to be pretty nice. They've only got 4-pounders here, so not like a huge amount of damage. But that's going to just have a perfect shot down here on the British line. So they need to be very, very careful. Up on the hill, we do have an entire French position. I think the Grenadiers have finally taken the house now, which is going to give them that victory point. But it does look like the French are just basically looking to keep hold of this hill, which is not a bad plan whatsoever. Seemingly, they do have the advantage right now in numbers. The French are going to get very, very close right here with this unit, and I don't know about that. That's going to be pretty scary. Yeah, they're going to turn their backs and just pull back out there. It must have been like a misclick right there, because there's a lot of British lines here, and they are just cutting down this French infantry, or this French regiment right here. It just doesn't really stand a chance. There's so many British in this position right now. And by the looks of it, the French just aren't really lined up to deal with this assault. They're kind of preparing their defenses right now and actually falling back off this hill, realizing there just wasn't enough terrain to really maneuver, as the British have kind of this perfect line as they do get supported by the Russians as well. So the first glimpse of this Russian force is going to be on this left-hand side. We have a few of these French light infantry regiments just getting off their first volley. Sometimes the sound does get a little bit bugged, and I think a few units do get bugged out, but hopefully that's nothing too crazy and the replay is still well okay. So here we go. The final coalition corps is now coming into view. We have an entire Russian corps just sticking out on this left hand side, and this could be very, very interesting. Honestly, they've got their cannon set up, but right now, the coalition forces are fighting 3v4. Granted, I think the majority of the 4th French Corps is just kind of guarding this flank. But even still, you know, these guys are going to be outnumbered by the French, or at least kind of, you know, will have more corps there. Granted, the French might have more quality or something, whereas I assume, you know, the Russian coalition side does have numbers. But a lot of their numbers are all the way out on this left flank. So, you know, what the French could feasibly do is send a couple, you know, a couple corps or a couple regiments just out onto this road and basically just slow up the advance of the Russians. Maybe stick a couple units in the forest as well, whilst the rest of their army just really goes to town on the forces of the coalition. That could actually be a really good strategy. You know, just delay the reinforcements whilst they kind of stranglehold the British and the other coalition forces. The British are getting smashed by artillery right now as well, as they try and reform up their battle line, I guess in preparation to taking this hill. We have some Prussian Jaegers out here, just taking off their pot shots, trying to pick off any man they can in the French regiments. And I think you can see they are taking out a few of these guys, you know, a few men are dropping down. Have the colours got, is that the colours? No, I think that's just a musket. Where are the colours? I think the colours have gone down. Some man pick up them colours. The French have really nice positioning with their artillery though, really nice positioning. And as you can see, they're just hammering away. You can also see the Russian artillery in the distance up there, which I think is really cool. Sounds like a cavalry charge though. Yeah, here we go. The French taking advantage of this extended Prussian Jaeger infantry. And they're going to be getting smashed by the French cavalry. The Hussars coming in and just cutting down this light infantry. Yeah, they do not stand a chance. I'm surprised there's nothing really, no reinforcements coming in. I really, really love how the Prussians have a lot of men in reserve in this. The main fight, like they've kind of detached, what, 5 regiments onto this left flank. As we do actually have a little bit of a cavalry scuffle right there. Looks like the French came out on top. However, I think now they're going to be exchanging quite poorly. Oh yeah, and we have the French cavalry pushing forward here as the British regiments forming square here to repel that cavalry charge, and actually succeeding in that. But yeah, as I was saying, one of the things I really, really love about these battles, and I feel like you don't get too much in 2 vs 2s, is the kind of having regiments in reserve. Not just having, you know, one long line. I love the idea of having these regiments sitting back and just kind of reinforcing where they're needed. I think that's just a really, really cool thing. So as we can see, the Russian regiment is rushing over here, hey, pun not intended, as quickly as they can. Obviously they're marching, but this is the fastest way to maneuver around in this mod. So I just need to get over here as quickly as possible, set up that cannon. We are seeing a huge movement by the French cavalry, and that's not a bad idea. If they can maybe take out and slow up the Russian corps, then they're going to be able to just take that advantage quite nicely. And we're also seeing a shift, a big shift in the French regiments as well, all moving over to this position. That could leave the center really, really wide, because, I mean, look at this. The Russians on this side have 6 regiments, along with the British having 5 here. They are also maneuvering more over to this other flank. But right now, you know, if these guys were just to push, they could split the French corps in two. This could be like a really big turning point if they see this and want to do. Now, maybe they won't because of the, what, 1, 2... Yeah, maybe they're being locked down by the French artillery here. But oh my god, did you guys see that hit right there? Oh my god, artillery seems damaged. Like, it do a lot of damage. But I don't know, maybe, like, again, tell me, this is one of the questions I'm asking. If the French are going to move all of their regiments over to this side, why don't the Russians and British just descend upon this? Is it because of the artillery? Could they not just use their cavalry as like a screening force and then get their infantry in? Do let me know in the comments. It does look like, though, the Russian corps is now starting to turn up as we have a pretty big cavalry engagement, as the Russian Lancers once again don't seem like they get the better of this engagement, unfortunately, as they try and pull out of there. However, the Prussians are going to retreat, which is not good. The Prussian regiments, though, have set themselves up, and as we know, the Prussian regiments are going to be extremely strong in just being drilled and raring to go. So these guys are going to be duking up against the French line. Obviously, the French are also extremely good as well, so it'll be interesting to see who comes out on top of this little skirmish right now. I mean, I think, yeah, because the French are having to reform up here and, defend against the Russians' oncoming assault, it seems like the Prussians will probably have this advantage just because they have more regiments and they're reinforcing with another 4 Russian regiments as well. Over on the right-hand side, we have another big engagement as the French cavalry come colliding once again into the Russian light infantry. The British are set up quite nicely here, though, fighting off against... Oh, that was a wonderful volley right there, as they do fight off against the French, who are not looking to give up this hill. We can see the overall battle lines. It looked kind of like the French are starting to get hemmed in, and I feel like if it is like a good reason to push in the center, I feel like the French will just get completely cut off, surrounded and killed, especially now that 4th Russian corps is now making its way in. Yeah, you can see the entire Russian army on this left-hand side has now turned up, and they're just going to basically be filling in the flank of this Prussian line. I mean, they just have so many more muskets on this position, but we have to hit into the side of the French. However, the French are doing a great job here at kind of keeping the Russians at bay, and they're just really trying to slow them up as much as they can. We also have a couple regiments of horse around here. However, the infantry is going to come in and fill in this gap, allowing them to go elsewhere. So yeah, like, look at this. There's only like a handful of regiments in this center point. So like, why don't they just push in? Is it literally because of the cannons? I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. And if that is the case, then what could they do to kind of counter them cannons? I'm always interested to find out. It does look like the French are getting battered on this left-hand side against the British line. Like, it really looks like they're starting to lose a lot of men. And yeah, here we go. This regiment right here is going down quite heavily. Morale starting to drop, especially now the Prussians are turning up on this right-hand side. The Prussians have deployed 6 regiments along with a light infantry regiment. And they're going to basically just be curving in here. And I imagine, taking on these other regiments and also just basically cutting off any retreat whatsoever. I mean, look at that battle line right there. You guys know I am one for battle lines. I mean, just look at that bad boy right there as everything does kind of come off. And the French are going to be in full-on retreat. And I think it's going to be very, very necessary for the British to push here. Because, maybe not, though. They just have so many regiments. But, oh, here we go. A big push here by the French. Somehow getting men round, even though there's so many regiments here. I don't understand how the French have managed to get around the back. And they're also going to be pushing some of their cavalry through here as well. So with a volley in the back here by the French, and then supported by a cavalry charge, I don't think any of these Russians can form square. No, none of these guys can form square either. So if they don't turn around to deal with this, they're going to be in a big problem. And we're having the French advance to keep the attention. If they turn, then they're going to get a point-blank volley. And here we go. Some infantry flying in. And they're going to be charging into the back of a Prussian line whilst they're taking musket fire from the front. This unit just getting demolished as well, and actually just routing due to being surrounded. I imagine the French cavalry is also coming in. Wow, how did this happen? This is disastrous for the coalition side. They just basically lost this entire side in something where they should really just be dominating. Look how many numbers they have. Yet the French, the mark of Napoleon here, coming in and just absolutely smashing this side. Oh, that is just brutal, and there's no coalition cavalry here to try and support this. And the French are just going full man mode, running in here, and they're actually somehow cutting the two coalition sides in half. I don't quite understand how this has happened. Considering in all respects, I feel like the coalition should be the one cutting these guys in half. Taking a look back in the center house, which is kind of the main engagement. We do actually have some of the camels up here as well. The British just looking to close the distance. I imagine use their superior numbers. Yeah, I mean, it does seem like the British are out shooting just because they've got so... Like, I mean, look at this. They've got 6 pretty decent, by the looks of it, Prussian regiments out on this right-hand side. They outnumber the French really heavily, and I just don't understand how this French disaster happened like it did. I mean, now it's going to be up to the Russians to really kind of salvage the situation, but no! The exact same thing is happening over here. The French are just doing a really, really good job at just using their cavalry, and that's really kind of starting to come into play. And they're just, as their cavalry is kind of screening, they've got canister shot coming in as well with some artillery. They've got some, what, 8-pounders by the looks of it, going up against the Russian 6-pounders, shooting canister shot to resupply, and they're just using their cavalry to screen whilst their infantry gets closer. Because if you guys don't know, if you're new to this mod, quite often infantry, if you charge head on onto another infantry regiment, is just going to get full on broken. But wow, right here, this is just a great maneuver by the French. Feasibly, they should have like lost this battle, and yet they're still kind of pulling this one out with their cavalry. However, the Russians are not beat yet. You know, they have been surrounded. I mean, I don't know, but I feel like this entire Russian corps has just been disastrous. Especially now the French are being set up on the entire flank. So now it's really up to the British. I mean, we got a couple, what, 6 Russian regiments moving up there. It's really up to the British to move up here and just basically try and salvage something. If they can take this hill, then maybe they'll be victorious. We have some Russians moving into the house itself, trying to secure this. I think that's, yeah, Russian grenadiers here moving in. I don't know what they're fighting. I think they're fighting French grenadiers as well, as we have a few of these guys just poking off through the houses, hitting the British in the side. Yeah, this desperately needs to advance. The British are making a lot of ground here, but we also have a couple French regiments in reserve for grenadiers. Oh, the British though, yeah, the British are doing great. But I mean, it's just due to their numbers, right? The French have obviously committed a lot more over to this right flank, which is just going to be completely devastating. Look at that. The French have the Russians completely in retreat. I just don't think they have anything left on this flank. Like, the Russians are going to... the French are going to stranglehold this. As you can see, as the Russians try and retreat, the French are just simply charging into this combat. And this is probably one of the smartest ideas, because yes, you're probably going to take a few more casualties. However, you're going to stop this Russian corps from retreating and reforming. This Russian force was severely screwed over by that Prussian corps, or them couple Prussian regiments which just got outmaneuvered here. However, it did seem like the French also did exactly the same on the other Russian side, so just unfortunate really. These small maneuvers, and that's why I love this mod so much. It's like these small maneuvers literally just, completely change up the way the battle has been played. And, maybe if this British / Russian line could have prevented that from happening, I feel like the French stranglehold here would have just completely gone in favor of the coalition due to their superior regiments. They didn't maybe have as much cavalry, but they definitely had more numbers, and they would have just eventually have outshot the French, I think. I mean, they're kind of doing exactly the same thing here. The French are trying to do some little pushback right there. However, we do also have... Wait, do we have a few... No, I don't think we do. What happened to the British regiment? I think a few of these British regiments actually just got cavalry charged, maybe? As we do see a lot of the French cavalry making their way back. We have some of the camel riders looking to get involved in this battle. No, sorry, my mistake. I don't think the British really went anywhere. The Prussian regiments are, I think, going to be going over, maybe to the center. I feel like they don't really need any more help here, if I'm honest. And we actually also have, what, 3 more regiments of the Russians going over here as well. Oh, wow, if they're not careful, if these guys are being caught in marching by the French Hussars. And again, these guys can't form square. They need to obviously have seen that coming and shot at the French cavalry to repel them. And the French cavalry, once they kind of lose that charge, they do get hit pretty hard, especially with some volleys coming in as well. That's one of the negatives of this, you might be thinking, oh, if units don't have squares, surely the cavalry will slaughter them. Well, if they get caught out by like a volley or two, they're just going to rout right off the bat there, so it's a little bit scary. The French have, seemingly destroyed the Russians completely on this right-hand side, pushing them all the way back to this house. And now they're going to be using the roads. Really smart move right here. Using these roads just to reform. And I think they're going to be pushing back to the hill. So honestly, the British need to try and do something here. Granted, obviously, these French corps, these French regiments, I should say, or one needed... I mean, how is this happening? How are the French now coming in and outflanking the British? The Prussians need to come in here and kind of fill in this gap as quickly as they can. They really, really do. Because if they don't, then again, the British are just going to be getting surrounded. From a flank that looked like it was going great. Yeah, these Prussians need to like just reform up here. And basically maybe just try and get in the gaps. They got some cavalry out here with the support of their muskets. It'd be great. The Prussians just look like they're coming in to resupply. I'm not really sure what their battle plan is there. And now the French are just, oh my god, the French cavalry has just done catastrophic stuff. I think maybe it would have been almost better for this Russian player just simply to form up a line like right here. And then just slowly retreated facing the French cavalry. Because right now they're just being cut down. Yeah, there's like literally hundreds of men here being sliced to pieces. And I think the coalition defense here is going to be breaking. The Prussians... Okay, this is actually not a bad move by the Prussians. I think they're going to be looking to break through this gap and basically completely envelop this French line. Not a bad strategy right there if they can pull it off. However, there's going to probably be a little bit of friendly fire. And they're also going to be engaging a few of these French regiments as well. Musketeers fighting hard in this melee. But if the Prussians can, get around the flank here, would not be a bad plan. But then I think the British need to turn in their flanks, and I think that's kind of what they're doing. There is a regiment of horse right now. The Hussars quickly maneuvering their way through this gap, and I imagine going to be smashing into the back as the French do form their square. Yeah, I think all of these French infantry can form square, so not really a great position. Yeah, literally all of these guys can form square, besides maybe this line. And we're going to get a unit of French cavalry over here as well. This looks like a general unit. And they're going to be charging down. I think they maybe overwhelm the French cavalry here. But yeah, they're going to have to get out of there as quickly as they can. Taking a look at the battle map as well, we can see... Oh my god, yeah, the French corps is just going to come completely in now. Resupply their brothers and... look to fight them. The Russians who have survived are now reforming as best as they can with their awesome-looking musketeers, ready to receive any of the French. But I think the French are just too big a number at this point. Way too big a number. And they're just going to kind of seize the day here. Especially about artillery. I feel like the French placed their artillery really, really well in this battle. However, I really also love the way that the Russians completely enveloped there, and also the kind of the united push with the Prussians and the British on this flank as well. That was really nice. And again, this kind of final push right here is probably a little bit too late with the Prussians. This is really nice to come into the side, and you can just see how effective it is. So a great maneuver here by the Prussians. And yeah, this is actually really, really nice. This is something I was learning because I felt like, oh, the French are just going to completely come in and surround the British here. But, being able to break these lines with these Prussian regiments gave them a huge advantage. And, I mean, it's being completely curved in now. But, I mean, maybe there is still hope. Don't underestimate the coalition, I just feel like there's just not a lot left whatsoever. We also have a couple Russian regiments here, but nothing really to be of note as everything comes in. Just basically looking to break this as quickly as they can. The smoke being risen up. I love seeing in the distance. We just take a look like over there. Regiments fighting as best as they can. As we get another cavalry, the French cavalry really dictating the pace of this battle. Even though they frontal charge, they didn't really get too many kills off. I think as well, it's because again, the French are doing this really nice maneuver here where they're acting as a screen for their infantry to get in. They throw in cavalry to take the volley, and then the infantry can then get in and really kind of show their power. The Russians and the British are in retreat. The French are just going really aggressive here. And they're taking the casualties. You can look at their morale right now after taking that volley, and I think this French regiment might go down. But again, they're using it to just basically supplement more other regiments going in. They're using their numbers really effectively. The Prussians are rushing over as fast as they can, but now the cavalry is also pouring in. You've got some camels flying in here as well. God, that must be so scary as one of the British soldiers right there. Just seeing these camels charging towards you. The French are losing their regiments here, but just with the sheer amount of numbers, they're just looking to stranglehold this battle. And I think it's safe to say that the French have won this, but in what fashion? You know, the French do have taken a lot of casualties. But that maneuver right here, I think, won them the battle. Because I think if this was going to be a longer, drawn-out battle with the Russian corps coming in, I definitely feel like the French were just going to eventually get outshot. Because look at this, the British and the Prussians have quite handily taken this hill. So if all of these French regiments couldn't have then reinforced, yeah, we would have seen it. We would have seen a great victory, and then the Prussians and the British would have moved in and resupplied and then taken out these artillery positions. The French are getting repelled somewhat, though. These charges are being pretty scary, and what remains of the British horse, supported by the Russian horse, you know, they are sending these French back. But I feel like it's maybe a little bit too late. Yeah, there's just so many French regiments, more of them flying in now as well, looking to take on more of the Prussian infantry. The Allied general has gone down, so the French general has actually been killed. But I don't know. The Russians are still trying to take this house as well. That's brutal. It's the beginning of the end for sure. I'm definitely interested to see what coalition force killed the most. This King's German Legion 2nd Light Foot has done a great job this battle. Like, we followed this unit at the beginning of the engagement. It's still around, and I mean, they're down to half strength, but they're still shooting and, you know, braving the worst. So I can't believe that French cavalry is there still pursuing. The Russians, the Prussians, everyone is falling back. But, I mean, look how many regiments are here. Their morale is high. The Prussians are having to spread out their lines a little bit more, trying to reform wherever they can. And there's just disorder in the ranks right now. Just so much disorder. Yeah, the French have finally cleared out this other flank. The British are now getting enveloped here. One of the British generals have gone down. I'm not sure who for. I think the Russian general. Yeah, one of the Russian corps have gone down as well. And the French are also coming in. I mean, these French regiments have been battered. Like this one especially. They've lost half of their men. I mean, they're still fighting. That's the main thing. As we have more British line forming up. Sounds like a cavalry charge right there. Can't see it though. And the British are just trying to form up their last-ditch defense right here. But the stranglehold is going to occur. Oh, we also, as I've gone through the ground again, we also have a couple French regiments moving their way back to finish off the kind of disrupted Russian corps. I think we're going to fall back, but I think 4 regiments should be enough to defeat these guys, especially because they're pretty depleted as well. The French are taking casualties here, trying just to end this battle. You know, they're losing a couple regiments on these charges and stuff, but it's only a matter of time until everyone's formed up. And we'll basically just stick around here, I think, for the rest of this battle. Oh, God damn it. Did not mean to do that again. Well, there's actually also a regiment back here as well, holding that victory point. Not too bad. This is one bloody hill battle. The British are now starting to rout, as we do have the French using their numbers basically just to charge in the flank. Also, guys, quick question as well. What do like the L5s and stuff mean at the end of a name and the L3s? Is that like their quality? So is, for example, an L5 like top tier and an L3 like medium tier? An L4 like it's a bit up there, and then like an L6 is like the old guard type thing. Like what does the L something mean? It'd be nice. Like, is that level 6? Is that kind of what they are? Again, let me know, because I imagine that's probably pretty important. The Prussians are being pushed all the way back though in this woodland area. They're gonna put up their last stand though here, that's for sure. Basically just trying to repel, you know, trying to take out as many infantrymen as they can before they rout. The end is definitely no. We've got a huge, huge French push here, smashing into the side. There we go. I think that's going to be the battle. The British are basically completely routing. And I think what really, really won the battle there for the forces of the French army is just that cavalry maneuver. And that push right there as they managed to use their cavalry in coalition with their infantry. And yeah, I feel like the British could have maybe made a push with their infantry supported by cavalry in the center, and just basically did what the French did to the other guys, and then they could have, you know, swung around their infantry, surrounded both of these hilltops, and then cut out the French. Would that have been a good strategy? Let me know in the comments down below. I don't think there's anything left, honestly. I think there's like maybe, yeah, I think there's one like Russian regiment still fighting bravely in the house with no escape. And there we have, the battle is over. Victory for the LK clan. This coalition of players literally did a great job. There was just, you know, a few moments in the battle, pivotal moments, which just went the French's way. So GG to all the players. I really appreciate the Napoleon Total War 3 Discord letting me use all these replays. You know, they're just so much fun, and that was one hell of a battle. Which you just don't really get too much. Like, there was some really key parts in that engagement. Oh yeah, we actually did have an entire Egyptian-French corps by the looks of it. And again, I will hopefully learn, you know, more and more about these stuff as we go on. So if we take a look, I think this is played by the Russians? No, this is a French. Yeah, this is a French corps I'm looking at right now. So let's see who got the most kills. Not too bad. 242 kills on this French regiment. I'm assuming, I mean, then what does C mean? Is it like cavalry 5 or? Yeah, let me know what these mean, because I imagine it'd be pretty useful to find out. Like, is that like grade 5? I don't know. But yeah, as we can see, the regiment's doing great. The general unit even getting 200 kills. How did the artillery do? Because the French artillery seemed to really play a pivotal part. I mean, it was mainly just zoning more than anything else. Yeah, they had some 8-pounders with 50 kills. Not too bad whatsoever. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this battle. If you did, be sure to drop a like and a comment down below. And I'll see you guys in the next one.